Hello, hello. We're going to do an interview with RAMSEY Robinson in a few minutes. So, very excited. I'm just going to wait for some people. The light's way too bright. I'm just going to wait for some people to trickle in. Hi. Hi. I have some questions we're going to ask. Hi, comrade. Greetings, comrade. Greetings, comrades. Okay. Yeah, we're going to do an interview. Yeah. So you guys know I volunteer on the Vote Socialist campaign for California. So the California Socialist governor candidate, RAMSEY Robinson, we're going to do a little live stream interview. So in a few minutes, once more people are in here, RAMSEY is going to join the live stream and we're going to talk to him. It's going to be fun. It's going to be fun. Why didn't I major in political science? I went to trade school. I grew up poor. Nobody in my family went to college. So I thought those degrees were useless. I didn't understand there was a whole career in academia you could do. So I went to trade school instead. And my trade was apparel design, manufacturing, and marketing. But I will say, ironically enough, getting a degree in marketing, I think made me understand propaganda and how to manipulate the human mind a lot more. So, yeah. Hello, hello. Come on in. Yes, if you're interested in learning more about left-wing politics, I have an entry-level reading list on my Linktree, that you guys can check out. And it's pretty easy, and I think you can start at the top and go in order, and it'll give you a pretty good overview of everything. I wonder if people are going to come. Usually I do my lives in the morning, so we've got almost 100 people in here, but I don't know. We'll see. Hello, Jasper. Hi. Hi, Car. How are you? Hi. I'm pretty excited to, if you guys aren't familiar with RAMSEY though, hi, to get you guys to talk to RAMSEY. It's 1 a.m. Oh my God. Thank you. Thank you for staying up. What's up, Glitch Gremlin Girl? Hi. And just so you guys know, if you're comrades in the chat, RAMSEY is a Marxist-Leninist, like is actually a Marxist running for office. But because we're engaging in the Lenin model of electoral engagement, usually he's used to talking to more liberal crowds. So you might see a little of that, but he's a real one, I swear. 7 p.m. for you. Oh my gosh. Okay. Yeah. It's 5 p.m. for me. So social democrats, I do not like social democrats. No, I believe that still leads to exploitation of the global South, the most vulnerable people amongst us. Yes, I am vegan. I've been vegan for 15 years. Otto, I mean, it's a sad story. It's an American who went on vacation somewhere else, broke the law, got sentenced to prison. That happens all the time. You could be sentenced to prison for that same thing here in the United States. Many people are. He had a medical emergency that nobody could figure out while incarcerated. It's very tragic. His North Korean doctors couldn't figure it out. As a gesture of goodwill, they sent him back to the United States because we have more advanced medical facilities here. Even though he had a 15-year prison sentence, he was only like a year into it. Sent him back. His American doctors couldn't figure it out either. And then he unfortunately passed away, and his family, for religious reasons, did not authorize an autopsy. So nobody will ever know what happened, basically. But people saying he was tortured and all of that, that's not true. Donald Trump made that up, actually. His doctors, after Donald Trump did a press conference and saw that, his doctors came forward and were like, hey, we saw no evidence that he was tortured, that his teeth were injured, that bones were broken. Absolutely nothing. So that was a weird thing Donald Trump did. Surprise, surprise. No, the interview didn't already happen. You're here. You're good. I said we should give around 10 minutes for people to come in before we start the interview. So, RAMSEY's running openly as a socialist, but is a Marxist. Yeah. So running as a socialist, because people aren't afraid of the word socialist, you know, it makes it easier to do things like petition. We have to collect a certain number of signatures to even get on the ballot out here in California because the Democrats are always messing with us. So those kinds of things make it easier just to sign for, but is openly a Marxist. Just usually in the marketing stuff, it says socialist because people aren't afraid of that. We're going to interview the socialist candidate for governor out here in California, RAMSEY Robinson, in a few minutes. Yes, I am pro-choice. I'm actually pro-abortion. I always joke that. So we're going to interview RAMSEY. He's great. If you guys haven't heard of RAMSEY, he's, you know, we say sometimes he's California's Zoran Mamdani, but he's better than California's Zoran Mamdani, right? Zoran ran as a Democrat. His goal was to bring people back to the Democratic Party. RAMSEY doesn't run as a Democrat. And because of that, he's able to offer a lot more. Your partner didn't get it? What do you mean? I'm so interesting. That's so interesting. No, I probably won't put this on Twitch. No. Yeah, you should do TikTok lives longer, Car. Yes, Mamdani's foreign policy is imperialist. Exactly. So the vote socialist candidates are not imperialist. They're anti-imperialist. And one of the points that they're running on is actually divesting California from Israel. So that's a big deal. A Vice documentary. Oh, gosh. Keep going. Show them My Brothers and Sisters in the North next. If you guys like watching documentaries together, My Brothers and Sisters in the North is really good. Do I not like Mamdani? So I have the same opinion about Mamdani that Karl Marx did of democratic socialists back in the day, which is that as long as our interests are aligned, that's awesome. People seem to be excited about Mamdani. That's a sign that they could be excited about socialism, that they're not afraid of socialism. That's awesome. But, you know, the second that these democratic socialists kind of throw the Marxists under the bus, we are like, okay, we're not on the same side. And Mamdani unfortunately did that when he started talking about Venezuela and Cuba in a way that manufactured consent for Donald Trump's foreign policy agenda. Mamdani pissed you off, yeah. But that's what happens when you get somebody running on a Democratic Party ticket, right? They're limited. So out here in California, we don't have to deal with that, thankfully. We have the California Peace and Freedom Party, which is our historic socialist party, the same one that ran the Black Panther Party. And they are the fastest growing political party in California right now, which is awesome. So if you haven't shared the live already, maybe share it so more people can hear about RAMSEY and get the word out and we can introduce socialism to more people. That really helps. Yeah. If we're excited about socialism, what would be the next step for Marxism? So right now I feel like we're in an education stage. So we want to reach people. We want to talk to them about socialism. We're still competing with a lot of Red Scare stuff. A lot of people are still confused about what socialism is, what communism is, what Marxism is. So I say education stage. I will tell you from my volunteer work, electoralism, even though I don't think it's a path to liberation, it presents a great opportunity to talk to people. I've got more people interested in learning about socialism just from electoralism than any other thing I've done. You know, is it a perfect understanding of it? No, but they're at least sympathetic. So I think that engaging in marketing, outreach, education, I think that Lenin, surprise, surprise, Lenin was right about something else. When Lenin said that electoralism is a way to meet the masses and show them the limitations of capitalism, I agree with that. I don't think you can vote your way into socialism, obviously, but I think that electoralism provides a podium and an opportunity for people who are in a position where they're ready to engage in politics to learn more about socialism. It's like a marketing campaign. That's what I think. Yeah, meet the masses where they are. The masses are obsessed with electoralism. So, you know, I think that's the stage we're in right now. Education, outreach. I also think it's important to defend what we call AES, actually existing socialism, because the more people believe lies about socialism and communism, the more they think socialism and communism are not viable or are bad. We need to tell them, like, no, these are viable and good things. You have just been fed a lot of anti-communist propaganda. So I think that's important too. Yeah, I did see more of the Epstein files have been released in Ome, who, if you don't follow Ome, I highly recommend. Sugar Skull Angelic, Mexican communist, said that there's some interesting North Korea stuff in there I should check out. So, yeah. So, yeah, let's see. Big J, who's JP? I don't know. Why would I travel to DPRK? I'm an American. I'm part of the United States blockade against the DPRK is on travel restrictions. They're not allowed to have our tourism dollars, which means on an American passport, our government, the US government, doesn't allow us to go there. So, Ho Chi Minh. So I haven't read much Ho Chi Minh. This is funny. I actually just started reading more Ho Chi Minh this week. So I'm still dipping my toe into Ho Chi Minh. I've never seen any evidence of DPRK concentration camps. They have a prison system. We have a prison system. We use a lot of loaded language to talk about prison systems of other countries, obviously. But I will tell you, by the United States' own estimates, we have a higher percentage of our population incarcerated than the DPRK does. The interview is going to begin in a few minutes here. So I told him to give us around 10 minutes for people to show up. So share the live if you haven't already so people can come join in and answer questions. Yeah, we have the biggest prison system for sure. I used to listen to My Chemical Romance a lot. In 2003, I saw My Chemical Romance after their first album came out in a room of like 15 people. Oh, Mom Domini's mom was in, oh, JP was Jeffrey Epstein. J.E. Yeah, okay. I didn't realize that. That's very interesting. We're good at war and incarceration. Okay, so we're going to interview RAMSEY Robinson, who is the California Vote Socialist candidate running out here on the Peace and Freedom Party. So that's a campaign I volunteer with. So I volunteer for the Vote Socialist campaign and Peace and Freedom Party. I've been registered with them since 2004. So this is my foray into electoral is this, and we're going to talk to him. Can you not travel to DPRK via China? I've seen other Americans do it. I haven't seen that, not since they introduced these new regulations around a decade ago. Maybe before that, though. So if they lifted that restriction and Americans were allowed to go, I would go to North Korea in a heartbeat, definitely. Do I support Russia? No. So as Marxist-Leninists, we actually have a specific way that we talk about Iran and Russia in the same capacity, which is that they're not Marxist-Leninists. That's not our ideal government, right? However, they provide a necessary counterbalance to American imperialism, and they stand up against places like the United States and Israel. And we recognize the utility in that. We also recognize that their governments are the way they are because of the United States destabilizing in their countries and meddling with them. So, my general thing, I talk to a lot of liberals about this. I say, if you hate Russia and Iran, me personally, if the people of Russia and Iran wanted to have a Marxist-Leninist revolution, I would be very, very happy for them, right? That would make me happy. That's my belief system. But if you hate the people of Russia and Iran, you might have to ask yourself what you are going to do so they don't have to keep fighting your battles for you. Because right now, if you think about it, Donald Trump is going on this war path throughout Latin America. Who would realistically stop him? Who would stop Donald Trump from taking over Cuba? Cuba can't. They're a very small, impoverished nation. The only countries worldwide who would stop that, realistically, are Russia and Iran, the very people we claim to hate. So to me, it presents a really interesting juxtaposition for us to focus so much on hating. Oh, hold on. Ramsey just requested to join. Oh, you're here. Yay. Hi, Ramsey. Let me see. Accept request. Thanks. Okay. All right. Are you here? Can you hear us? Ramsey.
I can hear y'all. Can you see me?
I can't see you, but I can hear you.
Okay. Let me see if I can get my video off. How's
Okay.
that?
Oh, yeah, there you are. Hi.
Hey, we made
Let
it,
me see if I can
y'all.
make you bigger. Yes.
Okay.
Yay. Hi. Thanks so much for joining. How are you?
Oh my gosh. Thanks. I'm wonderful riding the high off of Friday, and thanks for your patience. Uh, the social media is a grow for me, but I'm so happy to be here.
I'm happy to see you. I haven't seen you since Central Valley because I volunteered and we were in the Central Valley together. Yes.
I was just
Yeah.
thinking about that.
So anybody who doesn't know, this is Ramsey Robinson. This is our socialist governor candidate out here in California. We are so excited. Ramsey is running on the Peace and Freedom Party, which is our historic socialist party out here. We're very lucky in other states. They're stuck with the Democrats or Republicans, it feels like. We're not. We've got ballot protection through the Peace and Freedom Party, who historically ran the Black Panthers, and Ramsey is carrying that tradition forward with an awesome platform that includes things like reparations for Black Californians, which is awesome, statewide protection against ICE, a $30 an hour minimum wage. One that really excites me on your platform is anybody who owns more than 10 houses in California has to sell them so we can flood the market, right, with affordable housing for Californians. Houses are for living in, not for making profit off of. And we're really trying to build this movement based off of the history of California's socialist kind of past. We have this really rich legacy. And it's not just you, obviously. You're running with 4 other people. Do you want to name drop the 4 people for everyone watching?
Oh, happy to, because it is a slate, and we got Megan Adams. She's running for state controller. Hey, where's the money going? Let's be transparent about the money. Is it going to fund a genocide in Palestine? We know that through Megan. We're going to take it back. Frank Lara for superintendent of public instruction. We're saying we need smaller classrooms. We need to tax the billionaires to make sure all of our students get what they need. And our platforms are course crossed because we're saying free childcare and free education from cradle to college. We have Alice Stack that will be the lieutenant governor. And we have Lalo. And of course, Lalo is running for insurance commissioner. We saw what our brothers and sisters, our siblings went through in LA with the fires last year. And he's going to make sure that this kind of egregious attacks, environmentally stops.
Very, very exciting. Also, this is another platform point that involves you and Lalo, which is offering free health insurance for Californians, like every other developed country has. Even other capitalist countries have this, right? It should not be a stretch for us. And the platform says that if we tax around 200 rich guys 2% more, all of a sudden we're able to afford free health care, no copays, no premiums, no deductibles for every Californian.
Hey, and may I add? I have to add this. It covers not just everything, but everyone, regardless of our immigration status, regardless of our documentation status.
Amazing. So we're doing this for immigrants. This also includes gender affirming healthcare for our queer community. This is all the stuff that people have been begging from the Democratic Party that they're realistically not ever going to be able to offer because their donors are in healthcare companies, their donors are in real estate companies. But you don't have donors like that. And you don't have Israel as a donor, IPAC, and you are able to do this because your whole campaign is grassroots funded, right? Are you still there? Do we have
I
you?
think it speaks. Oh yeah, can you hear me? I'm still here.
Okay, good.
Hello?
Yeah, you're good. Yeah.
Okay. No, I think it just speaks, and thank you, Madeline. You said so much right there for the campaign. But, it speaks to the urgency that we have now to break with the Democrats and that we're truly in a life and death situation. When we see that just last week, about a week and a half ago, it's the Democrats that voted to have more funding towards ICE, right? So these are the Democrats that are based directly funding ICE that are leading to the death of people just like you and me. Obviously, Renee Good, obviously Alex Preety. So just what we saw in the last week and a half, 2 weeks in Minnesota shows us that we don't have time to be playing around with the Democrats anymore. We really need a third party that's not taking any of the money from the billionaires because we know the Republicans and the Democrats that's how they're tied up. They're bowing down to the billionaires, and that's why we still see these problems that we're having really in California and the country.
Exactly. So I've got some questions for you, Ramsey. Everybody joking about my Wi-Fi. I'm notoriously my Wi-Fi is bad, which is interesting because there is a Spectrum monopoly in my neighborhood, so I can only use Spectrum, and the service is terrible. So that's what capitalism does for us, everybody. But I have some questions for you about the strike that happened on Friday, a general strike that occurred. For you guys who don't know, there was a one-day general strike, which we are trying to teach Americans how to strike again. We're building up, hopefully, to something bigger and longer and stronger. And this was originally called for by a Somali student association out of Minnesota. They asked for support. Some nurses joined in, did a nurses strike the same day. And pretty soon it picked up steam and became a national thing. And Ramsey, you participated, yes?
As you know, I was there. I rolled up. I work in a high school. I hope y'all can still hear me. I'm a mental health clinician in a high school, and the high school has a student socialist club. Shout out to Bayview Hunters Point. And we rolled deep and took public transportation to Dolores Park in San Francisco, and we met up with 100,000 other people that flooded that park and showed faith that the students, we can shut it down. Workers, we shut it down. That's exactly what we need, to show Trump and his administration that we're the ones with the power. It was incredibly inspiring, and especially to see the youth lead. I mean, we didn't even really have to organize anything, at least at the school. It was the Student Socialist Club. It was the students there that planned everything out and how to get there, and we even had them get on the mic as well. You know, we're not going to accept San Francisco in California.
Okay, so can you guys still hear us okay, everybody in the chat? Because my internet is cutting out. I've tried Wi-Fi and not, but I don't know if it's just me. Are you guys able? We're gonna do a second to see if everybody can. Yes, okay, great. So I've got the questions here. I asked you the first one, obviously, which was like, what was the shutdown like? Did you participate? And for everybody who doesn't know, Ramsey is in San Francisco. Ramsey, I think maybe it's your internet as well. Are you able to turn your phone on or off Wi-Fi, depending on which one you have now?
Uh,
Sorry, everybody. Thank you for sharing. Also, I just want to point out that other countries actually have Wi-Fi as a public utility, and their Wi-Fi is way better than the United States and way cheaper or free. And it's because we actually had a group of telecommunications professionals at the beginning of Wi-Fi existing sit down together and come up with internet rules that made it so that they could limit how good our internet connection was, and they could do price fixing. So it's very corrupt in the United States, our access to internet. Other countries consider it like a human right, and they have faster internet at a cheaper price. So everything you're experiencing right now, Yep, that's a result. That's part of capitalism too. You can thank capitalism for that. Oh, yay, you've been canvassing. Yay, awesome. Chinese Wi-Fi state control to fifth the price and faster. Yep. I think it might actually be worse now. Oh yeah, maybe that's better. Maybe. Sorry, everybody. Technical difficulty. How am I able to maintain that info? Oh, maybe Ramsey, just go back to what you had before. Even if it was a little laggy, it's probably okay. Yeah, we chose to have this conversation on TikTok because I have more of an audience here, and it's a little bit more user friendly and easy to jump on and for a brief convo. It is Oracle holding us back. Yeah, Spectrum's horrible. Oh, Ramsey, why don't you try leaving and rejoining? I'm gonna message you. Hold on. Okay, I just asked, so hopefully Ramsey sees it to leave and rejoin. Hold, please, everybody. Let's see. Okay, so Ramsey left and is going to join us really fast. So sorry, everybody. Thank you for bearing with us. Yeah, we need to make Wi-Fi a human right in California. So I don't know. We're going to get into some questions in a second here for Ramsey about the general strike. But yes, somebody asked, is Ramsey a Marxist-Leninist? Yes. I know for certain 4 out of the 5 current vote socialist candidates on the slate are Marxist-Leninists. They are, yeah. So they're like us, and they're all working class people. So Ramsey, as he said, is a works in schools, right? As a social work background, works in schools. Megan Adams is a school bus driver and the head of the school bus drivers union. She's also in San Francisco. Frank Lahr is an educator. So running for superintendent of education, also in San Francisco. Down here in LA, we have Lalo Vargas, who is running for insurance commissioner. Lalo is an educator as well and part of the teachers union down here, and also previously ran for city council positions. And the other person we have down here is Ella Steck, who is a physician. And she focuses on OBGYN and is very passionate about OBGYN rights for immigrant women in particular. So, very, very interesting. You've met Ramsey, Megan, and Frank before. It's so great. I love them. They're all They're all just good people, too. Just really, really good people. It's very inspiring talking to them. Have the primaries already happened? No, the primaries are coming up in June. So if you guys aren't familiar out here in California, the way our primary system works, we have something called a jungle primary, which means everybody who's running goes on a primary ballot, and the top 2 people with the most votes then go against each other, regardless of their party affiliation in the final voting. So there's no reason not to vote for the peace and freedom candidates in the primary. It does not stop Democrats from being on the ballot. And if they get on, they get on. And Lalo in particular is pulling neck and neck with the Democrats right now, which is amazing. So yeah, register to vote in California if you're not already. It does help also if you register Peace and Freedom Party. It helps them make sure, because the Democrats often sue them to not be on the ballots. It helps them secure ballot access for future elections, but you don't have to vote in the same party you're registered with. So if you're registered as a Democrat, you can still vote for the Peace and Freedom Party candidates. If you register as a Peace and Freedom Party member, you can still vote for Democrats if you want. Either one helps us a lot, though. So, yeah, that's, I think, Democrats hate democracy. They do. They are constantly suing us to try to keep us off of the ballot. You register Socialist in Jersey. Yay! So great. There are other states also doing vote Socialist campaigns as well. I'm only familiar with the Californian one because that's what I volunteer for. But yeah. Super, super good. So hopefully Ramsey will pop back in and we can ask these questions. Peace and Freedom Party, I believe, is exclusively California, but lots of other states do have socialist third party options. And out here in California, any other parties to keep an eye on? We're trying to build a very large left unity movement out here in California. So you will see a lot of the electoral parties work together, and then a lot of the non-electoral parties work together. And I do both. I do electoral work and I do non-electoral work. And I can tell you we have a strong coalition. Okay, Ramsey's getting the internet straightened out 1 second. So yeah, we do both. And out here for the electoral slate, we have a left unity slate with the Green Party right now. So we have a whole slate except for governor. We each have our own governor candidates, but everybody below governor, we kind of traded off who ran for what position. So you can vote Peace and Freedom and Green all the way down if you want in California, which I think is pretty cool. Oh my God, Virgo! How was your wedding? Virgo in the chat got married on Friday. Yay! Ram's here again, requested to join. Okay, let's take a like. Accept request. Connecting.
Okay.
Okay.
Can y'all hear me again?
Yes, way better.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you for your patience, everyone. Should I keep my video off, do you think, or should I try to get on that video?
I think without the video, it doesn't lag as much, maybe. So let's stick with that since we're having technical issues.
Sure.
And then we'll make me giant and we'll talk to you. All right, okay. So let's get into our questions for Ramsey. For those of you just joining us, Ramsey is the Vote Socialist California candidate for governor running this year in 2026. And we're going to ask some questions about Friday's general strike shutdown. So the first thing I'm going to ask, Ramsey, on Friday we had a call for a nationwide general strike, a nationwide shutdown. I'm reading notes, everybody. I'm not ignoring you. From what you saw, did the Bay Area really shut down? Because you're up there in the Bay Area. I'm down here in LA. I know what it looks like in LA. What did it look like for you guys? How significant was it? What happened?
Oh, it was very significant. I mean, I would go as far as to say it was historic. You know, I haven't seen numbers like that since after October 7th, when we completely changed the narrative of Palestine. And like I mentioned before, we had so many high schools, the students just on their own accord just shut the schools down and came out to Dolores Park in San Francisco. We had over 100 businesses shut down as well, because we know it's time to really send a clear message that we won't tolerate ICE anywhere in any of our communities. And it just shows how popular that demand is. So for sure, I mean, the kids walked out of my high school about 11 o'clock. We were at Dolores Park by 1, and by the time we got there was already tens of thousands of folks there.
That's so amazing. That's so cool. Yeah, down here in LA, we had massive crowds out too. And I think you're right. I think that for those of us who have been involved in activism work and organizing work, we've seen how horrible ICE has been for communities going back to when it first started. But for a lot of people, they are learning for the first time in real time, horrifically, how dangerous and bad ICE is. And it is imperative that our politicians be calling to abolish ICE, to end ICE, not just to defund it, not to cut funding. I mean, and I think people are realizing that. All right, so my next question. You walked out with your students, right? And you're a social worker who works in high school. So what was that like, walking out with your students? Like, what was their mood like? What was their motivation? What was kind of the vibe of the kids? Sure.
Well, I had asked them, who here has ever been to a protest or a demonstration before? And none of them raised their hand. So this was baptism by fire for them. But they had smiles on their faces. They were ready. They made their own. I actually went in to talk to a couple kids that were going to get on the mic and speak. And they were in there stamping buttons. They were actually making buttons hours before the protest. They were making their own signs. And the energy was really high. They were chanting and doing call and response while we were on the J, on the light rail. And they couldn't believe it. If you could just see their faces and their eyes pop open when they rolled up on Dolores Park and saw just everyone there to support. I think it's a formative experience, a core memory, as we say. They're never going to forget it. And we're going to keep that momentum going with them as well.
That's so cool. I mean, I remember when I first got involved in organizing, I was a teenager. I was in high school. I think that's so true for so many of us now, years later. And you're right, that is a core experience. For me, obviously, it was the War on Terror. I'm a little bit older. It was 2001. But for those kids, they're going to remember this forever. And I think that what we're seeing now, obviously, we know that 1 in 3 young people, right, has a favorable view of socialism. And that's huge. That's massive. Those numbers are growing. And I think that really what this means is that we're seeing like a whole generation of young people getting radicalized and realizing that when they come together, they do have power and they can do things. And I think that's really, really cool. 2 and 3. Flauta just corrected me. Thank you, Flauta. It's 2 and 3 young people view socialism favorably, which is massive. Okay, so
you can see it in my school too. Like I said, pardon to interrupt, Melon, but yeah, I mean, these kids started their own student socialist club. So they're meeting every other week, and they're talking about what. So and I told them about Fred Hampton. Theory's great, but let's put it into action. So they've been studying theory. They know what socialism is now. And then so for Friday to give them an opportunity to put this faith in action, this knowledge in action was really powerful.
Okay, Magneto Marxism says it's 1 in 3 favorable for communism, 2 and 3 favorable for socialism. And like RAMSEY just said, giving kids actual socialist leadership to look up to, like the Black Panthers are a great role model for our kids to look up to. Fred Hampton's a great role model, and it does show them that, like you said, RAMSEY, it's not just ideas, it's not just books, it's things we do to help our community and also to help each other and recognize that we can have political power. Okay, so next question is, they say students are leading the way. As an educator, what does that mean to you?
Well, and just to clarify, so I'm a therapist with the kids too. So I'm a social worker that does therapy with the kids, but I love being in an institution like the school. But pardon, what was your question again, Madeline?
Oh, so, just this idea, we talk about how kids are leading the way, like kids are the future. What does that mean when you work with kids? Like, what kind of a future do you envision these kids wanting to build and fighting for? Like, it seems like they really are taking the torch from older generations and running with it in a much major way. So just to kind of get your thoughts on that, these kids fighting for the future and a socialist reality, and how you feel about that.
It should be incredibly optimistic for us and hopeful, because if you look at people's movements all around the globe, all throughout history, so many of them were youth led. I mean, if you just look historically, you can see that it was young people that were deeply involved and deeply passionate about it. And many of these student movements, these youth movements, these people movements, they were based in socialism as well. So it's really just they're carrying on the tradition of being able to fight back, to organize themselves, and to link up. And I think actually one thing that was really powerful was that it was intergenerational, because we are going to need, just like we know we always connect our struggles. It was interracial solidarity that brought justice to Derek Chauvin when George Floyd was murdered. It was intergenerational. So, but to see these kids literally the first time where they start to feel their own power and feel what it's like to be connected to tens of thousands of other people, it means that our future is really bright. And it's the kids that are going to continue to carry the torch for sure.
Yeah, I agree with that, definitely. Okay. So what a general strike would really take is obviously a united movement of students and workers together. And what we're looking for is, we want to build the movement, right? American workers have had the idea of strikes so beaten out of us. Some industries are not even legally able to strike unless certain conditions are met. But we know general strikes are super, super powerful. They've been extremely effective in the past in getting us the things that workers take for granted today or we get to enjoy. Weekends, right? Any labor protections we have. General strikes were a massive part of our history in building that in the United States, which is why they're such a threat to the power structure. That's why so many politicians have tried to make the idea of striking illegal wherever they can, or at least socially taboo. So we want to build this movement towards a larger general strike. We want to be able to have the infrastructure in place to do this as often as we need, to flex our power, to have general strikes that last until our demands are met. What do you think it's going to take to make a nationwide general strike of that scale happen?
What it's going to take is carrying the momentum that we've seen now for the last 2 weeks. I mean, our eyes are open now nationwide, and they're not going to get closed again. So it's going to take organizing as well, for us to continue to do what we did in the last 2 weeks and organize and get together and exert this pressure, on the Democrats, on the Republicans, on Trump, on his administration. So to spread this strike, we're going to have to continue to get organized, and that's why everyone should join an organization. And this is what it's going to take to be able to spread it, so we can really come up with clear demands and get them met.
This is what I've been telling people too. I've been telling them, Ramsey, that we are doing such a huge push out here in California to have left unity, to build coalitions of different types of socialists, right? And we might not all agree on the minutia, but we all agree that capitalism is killing us all, and we've got to get out of this. So I've been telling people, just join any socialist org you can. Maybe it's ours, maybe it's not. Just join something. And I feel like a lot of people are overwhelmed by that. They don't know where to start. But the reality is, I know here in LA, we have so many different socialist orgs. Is it the same for you guys in San Francisco?
Oh, you know that. I mean, and just to say, the Peace and Freedom Party is the only explicitly socialist party right now on the ballot. I think that's really clear to say. And, we're very upfront and direct about what our program is. I mean, we're saying that we will do everything it takes to protect our immigrant community. We're going to make California the true sanctuary state that it is. We're going to ban all state and local agencies from collaborating with ICE. And we're going to prosecute and decertify any officer who works with them. We're also going to take state funds and make a massive Know Your Rights, multilingual Know Your Rights in every county in California. But I just want to say that this is so important, and I messaged this off the stage on Friday too, that the real power isn't in the governor's office. The real power is in the masses of us getting together like we did all across the country on Friday. So it's just really important to realize that too. Let's use the Peace and Freedom Party as a way to exert our power as well in the electoral realm. But let's also remember that it's always going to take masses of people coming out in the streets in an organized, unified way that's really going to get the change we need. And that's why the billionaires are so scared right now, because they saw, oh my gosh, people are coming out below zero temperatures to come together, and we got them on the back foot right now.
Okay, wait, Ramsey, do you want to try to go back on camera now?
Yeah.
Let's see if it happens so people can.
I see folks are wondering that. How's that?
Let's
Am
see.
I on yet?
No, not yet, but let's see. Ah, that's so great, Sam. Oh, yes, here we go. Yay. Okay, I'll make you big. Okay, cool. So everybody just joining us, this is Ramsey Robinson. This is California's socialist candidate for governor running on the Peace and Freedom Party. And we are talking about the general strike that happened on Friday, the future of general strikes in the United States, building a socialist movement. The kids are ready for it. And basically, what we do with this moment, how we use it to inspire people and not kind of leave them feeling hopeless. Like, this is an opportunity for us to remind people, you have power, we have power. When we stand together, we can make things happen. And, Ramsey, you were just talking about how the governor's office isn't everything, right? Electoral politics is not going to be able to save us if we don't build this movement together as people working beyond that. So how does all of this actually tie in with your candidacy for governor? I mean, you have an awesome platform, obviously. We know it's a platform the Democratic Party could never offer because their donors won't let them. So how does this idea of working together like mass organization build into your campaign for governor?
Well, this is what it takes. Any advance that working folk like us have ever made very rarely came through the electoral arena. If we look at the abolition of slavery, that was because 200,000 Black people took up arms, and there's correspondence between Lincoln, and especially because we're in Black History Month now, to talk about this, there's correspondence between Lincoln and Grant that said if it wasn't for Black people getting into exerting their power, that the South would have won. It's the same thing in the Civil Rights era. It wasn't the Democrats or the Republicans that were handing down, right, the Civil Rights Act or the Voting Rights Act. It was because millions of us in multiracial, multinational unity, multi-generational unity got out in the streets and pushed for it. You can go on and on and on in U.S. history to show that. And the Peace and Freedom Party is part of that bigger mass movement. We've been around, the Peace and Freedom Party has been around since 1967. You mentioned it was formed, it was birthed out of the Black struggle. It was birthed out of the anti-war movement linking up with the Black Panther Party. So we are going to use all the power we can. And there is power in our voices through the Peace and Freedom Party, through an independent third party that's not connected to the billionaires. But we also got to continue building and organizing beyond that as well. And that's really what we're talking about here. The campaign is really a struggle for power. And we are looking to take the power back that was stolen from us, from the billionaires. And we're looking specifically to take that $1.2 trillion of our money that they stole from us and they're sitting on now and preventing from getting taxed. We're out to get that. And eventually, we want to eliminate the billionaires. There's no way that you can have a billionaire that gets as rich as they do without suffering and poverty. So we're saying ultimately we have to change the whole system, and the Peace and Freedom Party in this campaign is a step to that and part of a bigger mass movement.
One of the things I think about is that I think we're trained in the United States to think you go into the voting booth, you check your ballot, you put it in the box, whatever. You do it digitally, electronically, you do it from home, whatever the case. And then you're like, this is all I could do. Like, it's done from there. And now we just have to trust that these people that we elect are going to do what we want. And we know they don't, right? We have data showing they don't do what we want. They do what rich people want. We know that. We don't actually have democracy here in the United States. And one of the things I always think, which I'd be curious to know your read on, I feel like getting socialists into office is about giving us a mouthpiece that people will listen to, right? It's like we get RAMSEY elected to office. That's not it. We're not done, right? RAMSEY becomes the mouthpiece for our movement, right? You're the one with the podium, with the attention, with a little bit of power to make things happen, certainly, but with a microphone and a spotlight to say, these are the people's demands. And if this system can't provide it, we need a whole system. That's how I always feel. But what do you think about that?
Oh, I'm smiling because you're just so on point, Madeline, really. And as far as I get with this campaign, and if I get into the office, it's really important for everybody who's watching this, everybody who registered Peace and Freedom Party, everybody who's part of the movement, to know that it's going to take all of us together, continuing to be united, that's going to be able to push our platform forward. We're very sober about that. This is a struggle and it's not going to be easy. But if and when I'm in office, it's going to be the hundreds of thousands, really the millions that got me in office that's going to keep me there, and not just me there, that's going to make sure that we implement this amazing program that people are hungry for all up and down California. People are demanding guaranteed housing, healthcare, education, a dignified retirement, guaranteed union jobs at $30 an hour. This appeals to so many of us just here in California. So that's a lot of people that's going to be able to make sure we sustain a movement to make sure that we have it. And there's no excuse that we don't right now.
Yeah, that's so true. I've told people this before, RAMSEY, but when I've been out door knocking for you here in LA, I've even got Republicans opening the door going, I was never the socialism person. I was the capitalism guy. But I'm looking around now and I'm thinking, this can't be the best system we've got. There's got to be something better. And you're right. Californians are hungry for it. Californians of all political backgrounds are starting to realize we're going nowhere fast. And even people who loved capitalism are like, at a certain point, it just gets ridiculous. What do you mean we're about to have a trillionaire, Elon Musk, from business out here in California, and we have more people losing their houses every single month? Like, what do you mean people are homeless and this guy's got 26 boats? Like, this is just ridiculous. Even people who thought they liked capitalism are realizing the end stage of capitalism is just the further exploitation and harm against us, right? While a few guys just get ridiculously wealthy. So I think you're right. I think that people really are ready for it. We want it. It is a popular platform. And it's even a popular platform with people who maybe never would have thought of themselves as socialists before. But they're able to see the Democrats and Republicans aren't offering this, right? So, yeah. Okay. So, this is kind of where we're at for everybody just joining us. RAMSEY running for California governor on the Peace and Freedom Party's historic socialist ticket. People always ask, what can we do? Like, what do we do from here? How do we get the message out? And I always tell people, here's what you can do to help you. Even if you're not in California, here's what you can do to help. follow RAMSEY on all social media. Follow RAMSEY on Instagram. Follow RAMSEY on TikTok. Share, repost all the content you can. Sorry, Fork. You guys know Fork. Everybody calls my dog Chairman Fork. So Chairman Fork is barking in the background. Sorry. So
Chairman Fork's with it too. The dog knows what's up.
She is. She's about the movement. So engage with RAMSEY's content. People are like, well, I haven't seen that much about RAMSEY's campaign, and we are picking up steam on social media. RAMSEY's got a pretty good following growing, but we are RAMSEY's campaign team. RAMSEY is a candidate of the people, which means that we, the people, need to be part of this campaign too. And that means we all have to work together to get the word out about this campaign. Like the post, share the post, tell everyone you know, ask people, hey, have you heard about RAMSEY for governor? And it is starting to work. I actually saw this SF Gate post recently where they were like, we are breaking down all of the candidates and you weren't on there. And I was like, I'm going to leave a comment. Where's RAMSEY? I opened the comment section, 600 comments, 400 of them were, where is Ramsey Robinson?
Yes.
People want it. So that's something you can do to help that's free. And another thing you can do is register Peace and Freedom if you're in California. It doesn't obligate you to vote one way or another, but it helps the party stay protected so they can run candidates like RAMSEY in the future too. And the third thing you can obviously do is vote Peace and Freedom. I love voting Peace and Freedom. I have been with Peace and Freedom a long time and I don't regret it. So, this is a movement and it is building, and that's what I always tell people. Do you have any other ideas that people can help your campaign out, RAMSEY?
I do. And you mentioned it before, and because you were doing it, and what everyone here can do is volunteer. So, and all of this, by the way, just go to RAMSEYforGov.com, RAMSEYforGov.com. That's where you can register Peace and Freedom Party. That's where you can donate. That's where you can endorse. And perhaps most importantly, that's where you can volunteer. And I'm telling y'all, when you get out there, when you're knocking on doors like you said you did, Madeline, when you're actually talking to folk just like us, working people who are hungry for our program, it is so inspiring. I mean, we're really in a critical state right now when over 1 million of us are behind on rent, 2.5 million of us don't have health insurance. 15 million of us are drowning in medical debt. We have we have college debt on us. And so when we go with this message to say, hey, you're going to have a guaranteed union job at $30 an hour. Your medical debt is going to be completely erased. There's going to be a rent freeze, and imagine if only 20% of your paycheck had to go to the landlord. Well, this is what we're offering. So when you knock on doors, when you volunteer, when you talk to your friends, your coworkers, your neighbor, your family, even though that can get tough sometimes, but we have to struggle it out with them. This is a way that we can really start to spread this message and just raise people's consciousness. And we think, because so many of us in California alone are really in a bad state, that this program, this campaign can appeal to millions of us. And that's what we need to win. The second place vote getter at the last elections only got, I think it was about 1.5 million votes. So we're saying if there's 15 million that are drowning in medical debt, if there's over 1 million back in rent, well, if we can get our message out to those people, we're very confident that they can register to vote and vote for us in June.
Yeah, that's true. So this is where I also specter of communism, 20% now, getting rid of landlords later. And it's like, this is the thing. There's always the jokes, right? The socialists want to come for your houses. They want to take away your houses. And I always tell people the socialists want to give you a house. We believe housing is a human right. We believe housing should not be a commodity. We want to give you things. And all you got to do is give candidates like RAMSEY your support and join a socialist org near you today. We're hitting it from both sides. Sign up to donate. And donations, you guys, I think a lot of us think donations, I don't have money for that. $5 is a great donation. $10 is a great donation. We're not talking about trying to hire Beyonce to go on stage and talk about RAMSEY Robinson, right? We're talking about, what if we could afford to put a billboard in your town talking about divesting from Israel? What if we could afford to send RAMSEY to the city you live in to talk to people about what issues are going on there and what a socialist panel of 5 people in statewide government could do to raise awareness about those issues, to help solve those issues? These are the types of things we're talking about. We're talking about airplane tickets within California. We're talking about advertising. We're talking about palm cards. This is what's on my desk right now, by the way. palm cards. These
Hey, come
cost
on.
money. We have to pay to print
Yeah.
these. This is the stuff we're doing with the money. $5 is great. $5 is awesome. $5 buys like 20 palm cards, So don't feel like you can't contribute enough. Remember, most of the more popular left-leaning movements that other politicians have had, their average donations have been between $5 and $20, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah.
You don't have to have a lot to be able to give something. So donating is awesome, obviously. Volunteering is awesome, obviously. And again, even if you're not in California, even if you can't do those things, it's free to share stuff on social media and talk to your friends, right?
Mhm.
We can all do that. Okay, I've kept you here for 45 minutes. It's quite a long time. I'm sure you need to go. I think that I am going to be downloading this live though and posting it on YouTube. I'll see if TikTok will handle it as a full video. It usually gets mad when you post things over 10 minutes, but we'll see what we can do. And you guys, yeah, just remember, it's free to tell people. It's free to talk to people. And our primaries are coming up. Is it June or July?
June 3rd.
Okay, so June 3rd, we have in California something called a jungle primary. That means that you can vote for whatever candidate you want in our primary, and regardless of their party, the two that get the most votes go on to the general election. So I see people in here talking about Butch Ware. If you want to vote for Butch Ware or RAMSEY, we could theoretically have a platform of Butch Ware versus RAMSEY. Can you imagine that world out here for California? So it is absolutely free for you to vote in the primary for RAMSEY coming up. I'm going to tell you to vote for RAMSEY because that's a campaign I volunteer for, right? But and we are running a Green Party unity slate for all the positions below. So you can vote Green and Peace and Freedom Party down that ballot. We've worked hard to make that happen for everything but governor. Obviously, we're both running our own governor candidates, and you can do that, and that will be so helpful in the June primaries to help get actual socialists on the ballot for our proper elections. It is free to do. Matiha, yeah, I said that because I saw you commenting about it. Magneto-Marxism, I agree, but that's that's you and me. So yes, get out there, tell people you're voting, and RAMSEY, thank you so much for taking the time for us this evening. Maybe we can do another live in the future.
Oh, anytime, any place we can do it. I'm happy to be on here. Thanks so much, y'all. And also, as well as all those things that you donated and volunteering and registering Peace and Freedom Party, just because of what's going on right now nationwide, just want to encourage people to continue to come out in mass like we're doing, like we did the last 2 Fridays.
Wait, so before you go, can we do, some people asked if you could answer some questions. Would you do maybe a 5-minute Q&A? Does anybody have questions?
I'll be here as long as y'all want me here. This is so important. We really, people in California alone, we're really in a life and death situation right here. So it's so important that we talk about this.
Yeah, so does anybody have any questions in the chat that they want to ask RAMSEY before we go? Yeah, we can do a little Q&A session. If anybody's interested, ask your questions here and I'll sift through them. Okay, so Bree says, how do you feel about the mileage tax? I commute to LA 80 miles one way and it would kill me. I've actually never heard of the mileage tax. But one of the things that makes me think of RAMSEY is the high-speed rail, which you and Megan talk about all the time, trying to get that California high-speed rail back on track.
Yeah, well, all that. We're gonna, first of all, we're gonna completely expand public transportation and we're gonna make it free. And this is gonna do a couple things. First of all, it's going to be free. It's obnoxious that they charge us to take public transportation to get to work or to get to where we want. And then when we get to work, they take money out of our paycheck. We're really going to end that. So we're going to expand public transportation. We're making it free and green. So right now, all the emissions from the cars that these huge oil companies are really lobbying the Democrats and the Republicans to make sure that we continue to shift towards all of us having, cars. This is thousands of dollars of expenses for us, So we're saying we need to make public transportation free and green, and all our platforms interconnect too. So when we do that, well, if we build more fleets of electric buses and light rail, we're going to need people to build those buses and operate those buses, operate that light rail as well. So these are some things that we're advocating for strongly, that we're going to make public transportation free, green, and clean, which is also going to create jobs for us here in California.
So cool. Okay, so Abby asked, any tips on how to spread class consciousness in red states? What do you think? This is like the same thing, I guess, in California. We do have red areas of town. What have you found, Ramsey? What resonates with people who are maybe more conservative, but I think would really like and appreciate socialism, the campaigns, and what socialism has to offer in general?
Oh, yeah. Well, the divide really isn't between Democrats and Republicans. The divide is between us folk, and there's 40 million of us in California, and just the billionaires, just 194 of the billionaires in California. That's really the divide. So if you're talking to folks or door knocking or you have family members, really ask them what matters to them, and you'll see it's probably something that our campaign hits, right? So many of us are being having an awareness of our class consciousness because of the things we're facing, because rent is so expensive, because healthcare is so expensive, or like we said, 2.5 million of us don't have it. So just ask them what matters to them, and that we know on our side that socialism addresses that. Like you said, Madeline, people are socialists without even knowing it. And so it's our responsibility to share what socialism is with them. And, people who, no matter how they voted in the last election, whether it's conservative, Republican, or Democratic, what we do know is that we all need guaranteed housing, healthcare, jobs, retirement. These are what we need. And when people realize that taxing the billionaires, just a moderate tax can fund all of that, we're going to see them come over to our side, I believe.
Yeah, one of the things that I always talk about when I talk to conservatives is common sense. It's like, hey, you don't have to be an ideologue. Certain things are common sense. It's common sense to tax 200 rich dudes 2% more so we all have health care. That's common sense at that point. And I think that conservatives do actually respond to that as a talking point. And, when you tell them you're not a Democrat, that helps too. Okay, so next question from Flauta. What would you say to people who think free housing for all is impossible?
My goodness, we through this main mechanism of taxing the billionaires, it's been demonstrated that it can fund all of our programs. And actually, with that money, we are proposing that we can build 1.4 million beautiful homes. And I like to point out that part of those 1.4 million homes are homes that are just sitting empty already. They're already there for us. I mean, in San Francisco, where I live, there's about 5,000 homeless folks, but there's about 600,000 empty apartments in San Francisco. We see the same thing nationwide. There's about 500,000 homeless people nationwide, but there's 17 million empty homes. The reason why we don't have access to it is, you mentioned at the beginning of this interview, Madeline, is because these huge corporate landlords, these huge real estate developers, they're snatching up tens of thousands of homes in California. And they're not just snatching it up, they're sitting on them, right? Keeping them empty to drive up the price. So what we're saying is, this is cruel, this is inhumane, and we're gonna have, using very specific mechanisms to do this, make sure that we get those homes, those apartments out of the hands of the market, of people that wanna use our homes as casino chips just to make money, and we put them in people's hands. So we make sure that housing is beautiful, free, and public for all of us. So this is how we can make sure that we all have a roof over our head. And that's really the main thing. These billionaires, they look at everything around us as a way to make money. They want to, they're even getting rich off of us being sick, like you had pointed out in the beginning, Madeline. And this is what we want to put it into. We want to make sure that housing and healthcare and education, these are guaranteed human rights. And one specific way we're going to do it, and I'll wrap it up with this for this question, is we're going to make it a constitutional amendment that in the state constitution of California, we have these guarantees: housing, healthcare, education. And that's how we're going to kind of take it out of the market, so these just few people can make a lot of money off it, and put it in our hands to make sure we all have a roof over our head, that makes sure that when we get sick, we have the healthcare that we need, like you said, fully funded and covers everything.
Okay, so here's a question. I actually, as a volunteer, don't know that I've seen this anywhere. So this might be a hard question to answer, but maybe it is actually easy and I just haven't seen it. So we have somebody here talking about the death penalty in California. What is our policy, not only just on the death penalty here, but also on policing in California in general. The cruelty
Okay.
of the police situation out here in California. We all obviously know, we're left wing in the chat. We know that police exist not to protect people here under capitalism, but instead to protect property. So, can we talk a little bit about that, the context of policing and your campaign, and how your campaign addresses that? And also, if you want to go into specifics about the death penalty, things like that, or even just using the death penalty as an allegory. It's like our state feels right that they can murder us very often for no reason at all. We know many Black Americans and Black Californians have been incarcerated on completely false claims. So just policing in general, maybe as a question.
Sure. Well, policing in general, if you're asking, we know we have a very specific program from this, and this campaign is really about power. And we're going to take power out of the billionaires' hands. And like you said, they use the police and the police state and the courts, and we're going to put it back in our hands. And what we're saying is we're going to have community control over the police. And this means things very specifically. First of all, people like us, we're going to have community watch, and we're going to control the budget. Because right now, we know that the police is getting funded millions, sometimes billions of dollars, and they're getting like military grade weapons to oppress us. But if we control the budget, we can make sure that all those tanks, all those bombs, all those guns, the military grade, that stays out of the police's hands. And also, we're going to have power to hire and fire, because right now we don't have that power. It's a real struggle to get justice. I mean, look at the killer, the ICE killer of Renee Good and Alex Preety and Keith Porter in LA. Their ICE killers are still free right now. So what we're saying is we're going to put power in our hands, and we're going to make sure that we can prosecute and fire anyone who's doing these awful things, committing these crimes against us. And for the death penalty, yes, we know that it's rigged. We know that it disproportionately affects Black and brown people. We know that oftentimes people who are victims of the death penalty are guilty, or are innocent. And so, no, we're not for the death penalty in California. And for prisons, the only people we really want to lock up is the billionaires, because that's where they belong. You know, folks, yeah.
They're stealing from us. They're the biggest thieves in California. One of the things I talk about too is that the way we think about crime is so interesting, because we decide what crime is and isn't. And we decided it's not a crime for your boss to steal money out of your pocket, right, and pay you an unlivable wage. But it is a crime for you to steal a loaf of bread when you're hungry, because your boss didn't pay you enough to be able to eat. And I think that's really the perspective shift that we need when we talk to people. Crime is the socially constructed idea, right? And the real criminals are the ones out here who are profiting off of our misery.
Oh, it's so key. Malcolm X said, whatever they accuse us of, we point that right back to them. And our program is really going to, solve so many things that lead to crime, right? Like, how many people are going to commit crimes when they have guaranteed housing, a guaranteed job, guaranteed education, guaranteed health care, a dignified retirement? So we're going to really get to the root of this. And when our basic needs are met, we're not going to see crime like we see now. And just for the prison system, as well as the police, they're hand in hand with the prison system. I mean, we're first of all, we're going to abolish prison labor, right? Because right now, through the 13th Amendment, they can do that. And some of the prisoners in California, they're getting paid like 8 cents to 36 cents an hour, right? I mean, that's super exploitive. So we're gonna ban forced labor in our prison system as well. So these are the ways we're gonna really address all of this.
Yeah, that's a great point as well. And for those of you who don't know, some of the clients of that prison labor are major corporations out here in California and in the United States. I work at apparel, so one of the things I know is that Victoria's Secret is one of those companies who in the past, certainly, maybe still currently, I'm not up to speed on it, has profited off of this prison labor. So it's these companies profiting off of incarcerated individuals. Okay, so Lilibet Cornelius says, what is the hardest part about running as a socialist?
The hardest part of running as a socialist? I mean, I got so much energy right now. It's so inspiring. I gotta just really keep it real. Now, y'all know that I'm working full time as well, so I'm giving therapy to kids in high school. So it's a lot of work, but no, I mean, the kids that I work with and the problems that they face have to do with the billionaires and the crises that the crises that the billionaires are creating outside the school. So no, I have all the energy in the world to make sure that we push socialism forward because that's really good, is what's going to help the kids that I work with. Of course, that's going to transform our communities here. So I love it. I'm thankful that I'm an extrovert. You know, I might be tired as I'm going to the next event, but as soon as I step off the plane or get out the car and start talking to people, I can just feel my energy rise. So there's really no downsides right now. We just want to keep this momentum going.
Okay, so Angel said, what are we going to do about the electric bills?
Well, Angel, like all of us in California, when I'm elected as governor, are gonna have no electric bills. You know, this is like what we're saying, that we're allowing these billionaires to use something like electricity, right? Like food, like the most basic aspects of being a human being to make money. And there's no need for that. So we're gonna abolish investor-owned utilities and these investor-owned utilities, because they're so focused on making money, they're responsible for burning down California. You know, they're responsible for our electricity bills, at least in San Francisco, in the last 10 years have gone up 90%. 90%. And then they make us pay for the fires that they caused because they were too cheap, they were too stingy to fix the equipment. And that's exactly what's happening. PG&E, I'm in Northern California, you know, in the campfire in Paradise, that killed 85 people. It burned down 18,800 structures. And again, this is because they were too cheap to invest in the equipment, even though they knew that equipment needed to be fixed. So it's time that we take it out of private hands and put it into public hands. And when it's our hands, just like housing, just like education, electricity will be free for all of us. No electricity bills ever again.
And yeah, and just speaking on that campfire thing and how these issues are all interconnected, it ties in with crime as well, because a lot of people don't realize this, but even if you're in an area where a fire happens and your house stays standing, luckily, then you have to deal with it being looted by vulnerable poor people who don't have enough to live, right? So this happened to my friend's mother was in the campfires, her house stayed standing, but then it was looted and all of her belongings were stolen. And that's because obviously people don't have enough to get their basic needs met. And so all these issues are interconnected as well in many ways. Okay, so Pierce says, I would like to know what your appointments would look like. Who would you bring with you as of now? And for those of us, you guys who were with us earlier in the live, we talked about the slate running for Peace and Freedom, Vote Socialist. But RAMSEY, maybe now is another opportunity to introduce people who just showed up to the remainder of the people who are running with you to try to make this happen.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. So we already know who we have on deck. Megan Adams for state controller. We talked about in the beginning, but for people who missed it, so important because she will be able to look at what's the money flow in California. You know, where is this money being spent? And that's huge because like we said, we know that some of that money is going to places that we as Californians would never approve if we knew where it was going, like the apartheid state of Israel. So working with Megan, Frank Laura for superintendent of public education. Oh my goodness. He has education experience, he has labor experience, and we're saying we're going to reduce class sizes. We're going to make education completely free from cradle to college. That's huge. And giving our schools everything that they need. The mental health clinicians like myself, the social workers, the nurses, the teachers' aides, right? So we have Alice Steck as lieutenant governor. You know, she's going to do her thing. I mean, she's amazing. She's a doctor. You know, she has a wealth of knowledge how to, support California being the California that it deserves to be. And of course, Lalo, we've been talking about too. So those are some of the appointments, but also it's gonna be y'all. It's gonna be the people of California that really have finally the economic and political power. And that's exactly what we need. And that's what we're gonna have.
I love that. Okay, so we also have a question here from Felis Rufus. This question, near and dear to my heart, as somebody born and raised in Fresno. Do you have any plan for ecologically restoring the Central Valley and its waterways? I know, RAMSEY, you and I were both in the Central Valley together, and we were talking about how farming and agriculture brings a huge amount of wealth to California, but also to the country on the whole. And we have this saying in California, food grows where water flows. But there were all these issues that get in the way of, and this ties into somebody else's question earlier too. There's all these issues that stand in the way of Californians having access to fresh food, to agriculture. Maybe take a second to speak on that, to how capitalism interacts with and affects our ability to grow food, to distribute food evenly, why food deserts exist, and how those all tie together.
Well, sure. I mean, like you mentioned, the Central Valley grows 40% of the nation's food supply, So obviously we need water to do that. But again, when we take it out of the capitalist hands, folks like us are going to be able to determine where the water flows. And that's really important. It's not that there's not enough water, it's that the capitalists are using it all, And so we have to get that out of their hands and into our hands. And when we do that, the workers are going to be protected. We're going to grow everything we need. Right now, like you said, Madeline, under capitalism, we have an abundance, a surplus of food. As a matter of fact, during COVID, there's videos of companies dumping out milk, burning down, crops because they produce so much food that it was too cheap for them to make a profit. And the same thing happened during the Great Depression. When the country was at its most vulnerable and we needed food, we had these food industries, and food shouldn't be an industry. They were doing the same thing. They were slaughtering sheep in the fields. They were dumping out milk. They were burning wheat. And this is because food to them is for profit. So when we change that and make sure that food is essential for all of us, it's going to transform everything, including the way that we use water in California.
One of my followers, Microplastics, made a reference to the kulaks, and that's what we're talking about here. We've got capitalists out here in California, and we have this romanticized idea of farming because we think of subsistence farmers, we think of small little mom and pop farmers, but we actually have massive issues with corporatized farming in California. We have massive corporations. There are jokes made even at a national level that for the FDA, who's supposed to be even protecting our access to food safety, they're like, it might as well just be called the DA because they forget about the food regulation. And these are all things that we as people also have the power to help. We have the power not only to make sure food goes into hungry mouths and doesn't get burned or thrown away when it doesn't benefit profit, but we also have the power to make sure the food we're eating is nutritious and safe and good for us. And I think that's something that people forget about a lot too. It's something that this campaign can really put in people's heads and at the forefront of our demands. Leona says, can you talk about healthcare if you haven't already? We talked about it a little bit, but let's talk about it again really fast.
Well, healthcare. First of all, shout out to the nurses, right, with the CARE Act, who have already put an amazing bill in front of Newsom. He hasn't been able to sign it, but again, by taxing the billionaires, right? Just a moderate amount, we can fully fund free and universal health care all throughout California. And to cover everything, mental health, gender affirming care, reproductive care, vision, eyes, everything's going to be covered. Absolutely everything. And it's going to be for everyone. And I want to reiterate what I said before, regardless of our documentation status, regardless of our immigration status. Right now, 1.8 million undocumented workers create $8.5 billion in taxes. But the immigrants, that create all that are often shut out from the very programs that they help fund. So we're saying this needs to change. And we're saying if you contribute, if you have a family, if you're working in California, you are going to get, and all of us are, regardless if we're employed or unemployed at the moment, all of us are going to get free and fully funded healthcare. It's really as simple as that. And we're going to take the CalCare even further, and we're going to make sure that we eliminate medical debt as well, right? And we've seen how this can happen in LA County. I believe it's the city council got together about $5 million, and they bought up about $187 million of medical debt for LA County, and then they just eliminated it. And that freed up 134,000 Angelenos that they just got a letter in the mail that said, your medical debt is done. And we're going to take that same model and just upscale it and buy up all the medical debt in California, rip up that bill, and everyone's going to know no more medical debt for anybody. So these are some of the things we're going to do, and even take these bills even further, these suggestions even further. We're also going to make sure that when we say we're going to build 1.4 million homes, part of that is going to be, elder care, nursing care for our elders, right? And they're going to be beautiful. They're going to be put in communities. They're not going to be isolated. They're going to have, education and engagement with the community and people around them. So this is how we're not only going to make universal healthcare free and for everybody, but even expand it more than we've ever seen in California.
And for anybody who thinks this stuff sounds like a pipe dream or it's not realistic, other countries do this, other places do this. California, the United States, we've just been left behind. Even other capitalist places do this. It's unrealistic for us to continue being the only people left in the dust who have the resources to provide this for our communities and choose not to because we care more about the rights of 200 rich dudes being able to exploit us than the rights of people to not be exploited by 200 rich dudes. So this is what I mean when I've talked even to Republicans, they even are at the point where like, it's getting ridiculous at this point. Like, it's just ridiculous. So Yuri also asked, how will we solve our labor shortage in healthcare? And I already know the answer to this, Ramsey, you probably do too. We want to provide guaranteed government jobs, right? And that ties in with it. And that's what having a planned economy can do for you. You can solve these issues. We all know the free market's actually not working so well, right? We have labor shortages, we have overproduction. So maybe take this opportunity to talk a little bit about the guaranteed jobs and the $30 an hour minimum wage situation.
Oh yeah. Well, first of all, it's estimated, and not by our own. This is not just through the campaign. I think the Stanford Labor has done research that there's 700,000 to 1.6 million jobs that could be filled in California. And what we're saying is we will direct already existing governmental offices like the Governor's Office of Research and Planning, right, which is tasked already with workforce and economic development in California, and we will direct them to work with EDD, the Employment Department, Development Department, and we're going to just start to create hubs of employment all throughout the counties of California. And we will place Californians in 2 weeks with a job, and a meaningful job. These are not throwaway jobs. I mean, we can take any of our platform points. Let's just take education, kind of like the realm that I work in, right? Well, if we have education and we say we're going to expand education, if we're going to fully fund it from cradle to college, we're going to need more nurses' aides. We're teachers' aides. We're going to need more nurses. Like we said, we're going to need more social workers. We're going to need more teachers. So that's going to be jobs that are there for us. When we're talking about making, energy free in California, oh my gosh, we're going to need hundreds of thousands of workers to connect the power grid right here in California so we all have clean and free energy. We're going to need the bus operators, right? The clean electric buses. If you take housing is a perfect example. When we say we're going to build 1.4 million beautiful, safe homes, well, we need construction workers, we need plumbers, we need electricians. So there's no shortage of it. And it's not radical. Like you were saying before, Madeline, we've seen this before. During the Great Depression, we saw the WPA, the federal government created 8.5 million jobs. It was workers like us that made over 500,000 miles of roads, tens of thousands of structures of buildings. And there's no reason why we can't do that in California.
So true. Okay. All right. I'm not going to keep you too much. We're already 12 minutes over time, but I appreciate you sticking around to answer some questions. Again, for everybody who's late, I'm going to try to find a way to post this on my page. TikTok gets mad at long videos, but we'll see if we can make it happen. And if not, I'll post it up on my YouTube. I have a brand new YouTube. I just started it as an archive. So you can find me over there, Madeline Pendleton, as well, and watch the entire thing. Hopefully I'll be able to get that posted tomorrow. We shall see. And Ramsey, thank you so much. We'll have to do another live with you again. For anybody just joining, vote Socialists. We're done waiting around for the Democrats to save us. They're not going to come. It's not going to happen. We're ready for the future. The future is socialism. The kids are ready. The youth is there, right? As Ramsey and I were talking about at the beginning of the live. We just need you. Just come, join us. So follow Ramsey, share, repost, comment on, engage with all the social media content you see over here on TikTok and on Instagram. If you're able to check out the website and volunteer or donate, even $5 helps. We're trying to build a people's movement, and it seems like the people are ready. It's working. So come on, join us. And thank you so much again, Ramsey, for taking the time to be here with us.
Oh my gosh, my pleasure. Anytime. And like you said, vote Ramsey for Gov. And excuse me, oh my gosh, it's been a long day. And people like us in the struggle, it's been a long week. But Ramsey for Gov, RamseyForGov.com. That's where all y'all can go for all of this. If you want to look at our platform points in detail, to volunteer, to donate, that's where you go. And yes, we got to stay united. We got to keep fighting together. And we will together, we'll bring about a California for us, people like us, and not the billionaires.
Yes, okay, thank you so much. All right, Ramsey, I'm minimizing you and I am disconnecting, and I hope to see you soon at another volunteer event.
Thank you, Madeline. Thank you. Goodbye, everybody.
Bye. Okay, guys, thank you so much for sticking around for the live. What do you guys, I mean, before we wrap up, what do you guys think? Any thoughts? I mean, I'm telling you, these people are the real deal. These aren't the Democratic Socialist kind of light things we've been promised by the Democratic Party. They want to do the real thing. So do you guys have any, okay, which countries have all this stuff already? I mean, China. Obviously, you guys know what I think about China. China's the future. But universal health care, that's a guaranteed right in almost every single country except for ours. Paid time off work required by law. That's something that the United States is the only country that doesn't have that. When it comes to your right to be employed, your right to have a job if you want, most people in the United States don't know this. Do you know in other countries, you're not even able to be fired willy-nilly. You have labor contracts that protect you. The United States is getting left behind in the dust. And it's wild that people in power keep telling you all this stuff is impossible. Meanwhile, every other country has it. And not only have they surpassed us, they're lapping us on the track of development. Even other capitalist countries, you know? So, yeah, I think this is stuff that's really important to remember. It is realistic and doable, and we are the only place in the developed, wealthy world, developed, loaded term, obviously, that doesn't have this stuff. And it's ridiculous at this point. And this is what I'm saying. If you know Republicans, even they are like, okay, it's getting ridiculous. It's getting embarrassing, right? Microplastics, all your comments were killing me. No, we are a joke. What countries have no-cost electricity? So this is something that's actually really, really able for us to achieve. I would have to look up the exact details of it, but I know different models of free power have been implemented. I want to say that Costa Rica has free or very nearly free electricity, but I could be misremembering without being able to look it up off the top of my head. What I will say is that other countries, another model, like what we saw in the USSR, is actually that their housing was completely free, and then they had to pay 4% of their income to cover all utilities. But people who lived in the USSR will tell you, like, but if you didn't pay, nothing happened. So basically their utilities were free, and they actually had to run propaganda campaigns to try to convince people it was comradely to pay your utility bills, because people were just like, I'm not paying that. And nothing happened, and it was fine. So, yeah. Very, very funny. You lived in the USSR, and that's not true? Everybody I've talked to from the USSR had said it was true. And I've talked to a lot of people from the USSR. Maybe it was different in Romania, but again, Romania is another one of those places where overwhelmingly people who lived in Romania miss communism instead of capitalism if they were old enough to live through both of that. There are a few countries where that's not true, but Romania is not one of them. Who ends up paying for the utility? It becomes a public utility. Just, I think also one of the things that we really take for granted is where our taxes are going. So when Ramsey was talking about, too, the demilitarization of the police, that's a massive amount of our tax money that goes into militarizing the police here. And that's just money that doesn't need to be spent. When you look at the overtime being paid to police alone, it's millions of dollars in overtime to fund these people doing absolutely fucking nothing, terrorizing communities of color. When you look at the price we have to pay for the police to do overtime to work at protests where we are protesting police brutality, I mean, it's just a joke at this point. So this idea that the money's not there, that's a myth. The money's there. That's why every other country can do this shit except for us, right? The money's there. It's all there. Those of you not from LA, this is a talking point I always bring up. LA Unified School District has a tank. They want to call us the tankies. I'm sorry, LA Unified School District has a tank. LAUSD literally has a tank. But we're the tankies for saying, hey, maybe not only should the police not be militarized, maybe the school system shouldn't be militarized. It's absolutely bonkers. So, yeah, the school district owns a tank from excess militarization. Yes, the school district. Yes. Absolutely wild. This stuff is very, very, very doable. We do not need a tank at the schools. We have the money. The money is buying your school district tanks instead of giving you free power. Let me see. You're in Costa Rica. The government is trying to privatize insurance right now. It's terrible. I'm so sorry to hear that. Yeah, that's horrible. Hi from Bakersfield. Hello. It really is horrible to see that other countries are trying to follow the United States model of privatization so that rich people can get richer, when we know the United States model is barbaric, uniquely barbaric in the world. Nightlife, yes, Alice, hi. You can thank Bill Clinton for the LAUSD tank. Obviously, the tank is more important than healthcare. What if we needed to shoot at the children? I mean, it's horrible. It's just a joke. It's just a joke at this point, right? Political scientists describe China as an oligarchy disguised as a communist state. Political scientists from where? This is the thing about political science. They want to tell you communism doesn't work. They want to tell you this. One of the reasons why they won't tell you that China is communist is because China's working. So when China was experiencing poverty, they would use it as a cautionary tale of communism all the time. Now that China has developed through state capitalism, lifted 800 million people out of poverty, and we see that it's working, now all of a sudden they're eager to tell you why it's not actually communism. It is communism. And this is what I say when it's important for us to defend AES, actually existing socialism. Because people need to know not only is this stuff realistic, it works. And all of the ideas we have, oh, communism is great in paper, socialism is great in paper, in theory, on paper, it doesn't work. It does work, and it has worked everywhere. And when we see it working in front of our eyes, they're going to try to convince us that's not actually socialism. It is actually socialism, and that's what we want to do. Right? So state capitalism, not communism, regret maxing. I could tell you haven't read Marx based on this, and that is totally fine. Or Lenin. State capitalism is the first stage of socialism. So that actually is the first stage of socialism, especially when you have a socialist revolution from a feudal standpoint. Marx said that you need to go from feudalism through capitalism to get to socialism. So if you have your revolution in a state of feudalism, you don't get to just skip capitalism. It doesn't work that way. So what you then have is a socialist government implementing something called state capitalism, which is a form of capitalism that is administered by a socialist state to minimize harm as it comes to people. So China is currently in the state capitalism phase. They had the revolution in a feudalist standpoint. They think they will be done with this phase in 2050 and ready to move into socialism. We still call it socialism because they are socialists doing a socialist model, which does include a period of capitalism per Marx. So lots of people think that, it's easy for us to say we're anti-capitalist, and that's true. But more than that, we're post-capitalist. We recognize that capitalism had utility, especially coming from feudalism, but that it's done now and it will continue to collapse and devolve and get worse and worse and worse. And we don't want to wait to see how bad it gets before we're ready to move on to the next stage. So yeah. I'm Batman. Our stance on the working class stay armed, that we believe in that. We believe that the working class should stay armed. Yes. Black Panther Party model. Sorry, I should have answered your question. I totally forgot, but I had it saved in my head. But this is the party that ran the Black Panthers, right? We have the same beliefs as the Black Panthers. The Black Panthers themselves have been at many of RAMSEY's campaigns. We believe as they believe the working class should be armed. Yes. Under no pretext, exactly, Magno Marxism. And this is what I mean when I tell you these are actual Marxists running. These are actually socialists. Why so long for China? Usually people think that it will take around 100 years, and by 2050 it will be almost exactly 100 years. So they're actually right on schedule for Marxist writing. The USSR did not skip capitalism. At first they tried, and they were like, oh shit, this doesn't work, this is bad. And that's when Lenin actually went back and restructured it and actually wrote doctrines where we can learn about state capitalism as the first stage of socialism and why it's important. And that's when the new economic plan or policy, NEP, was introduced by Lenin specifically to implement that state capitalist stage. Lenin emphasized using state capitalism to advance industries to strengthen against imperialism. Yes, Yuri, exactly. Armed with guns, yes. Yeah, we think people should be armed with guns. Under no pretext should the working class be disarmed, yes. So we believe that. So, 85% of political scientists are unfortunately right-wing cranks, and they will attempt to tell you it's science that the poors have to stay poor. I mean, it's absolutely ridiculous watching these political scientists. So the thing I always say when people are like, but this is science, but economics, I always tell them this. Milton Friedman and the Chicago boys had degrees in economics. It did not stop them from destroying Chile. They did. They went in there and they were like, this is going to be our playground to implement free market capitalism. Milton Friedman's got a whole school of economics named after him at the University of Chicago, right? This is supposed to be the most brilliant economist of our time. His ideas, his methodology, his ideas of the science of capitalism completely destroyed Chile. Completely. The only thing that saved Chile from complete economic collapse was that the leader, who was a violent, horrible dictator backed and propped up by the United States, I might add, even he was skeptical of the United States economic policy, and he refused to privatize one of their top mines, and he instead left it nationalized. And we see now in retrospect, that's the only thing that saved their economy from complete collapse. Ramonia Bengosa is obviously an anti-communist in the chat. That's okay. We'll talk to them. 10% of the Chinese hold 67% of their wealth. The wealth gap is insane. Yes, and it is getting, that's what happens from capitalism. The inevitability of capitalism creates wealth gaps. What we see, though, is China doing a good job attempting to mitigate that. And now we're in the stage where China is ramping that down. A third of billionaires in China have lost their billionaire status in the past 5 years alone. So we see that wealth gap narrowing, and they are now actively in the process of eradicating billionaires. So that's when we say this is a process. We don't do it overnight. Yes, the idea that communists are accelerationists who want to ruin your life. No, actually, and we see all examples of actually existing communism. We seek to do these things in a slow, methodical process that takes care of people and does not introduce like shock doctrine style politics that completely destroy and ruin people's lives. We want to do this in a methodical, processed way. So that's what China is doing now. They are ramping down the inequality. They are making billionaires lose billionaire status. Yeah. Anthony Blinken, oh my God, microplastics. I know, I would never run for office. I'm not one of those people. My ideal job would be probably like high school teacher. Okay, so what are the best ways for us to get liberals in our lives on board with RAMSEY for governor? So I think we should do more lives. I think we should do that maybe. Right now, I'm in the process of getting canceled over North Korea for the 5th time. It was really funny. I told the Vote Socialist people, I was like, I don't know if we want to do it right now. I'm getting canceled. And they were like, for what? And I was like, not hating North Korea. And they were like, lol. And somebody in the chat was like, does RAMSEY know your feelings on North Korea? I'm like, babe, we all got the same feelings about North Korea. And this is what I tell people. All your favorite revolutionaries, the Black Panther Party, they like North Korea. They worked with North Korea. Thomas Sankara worked with North Korea. We're all on board on the same thing. You guys are just getting left behind. So it's like those liberals, how do we get them? Right now, they're probably less likely to come into my lives because they think that North Korea is the most evil thing in the world and I'm a bad person. But that'll pass. They have a short attention span and memory. And maybe, we'll do more of these and we'll try to talk about them more and do them in the morning. I usually get more people in my lives in the morning. So hopefully it'll be fine. The more cancel I get, the more popular I get, I guess. No such thing as bad attention, I guess. I'm a boogeyman and people said today actually I went to get tacos with my partner and there was this person there who recognized me. I could tell right away. They were in front of me in line and they turned around and they looked at me and I was like, this person recognized me and I can tell by the way they're dressed that they don't like me. And then they started like whispering to their mom and then the whole time we were eating they were staring at us and like whispering. I was like, oh my God, this is fucking exhausting. But that usually doesn't happen to me in public and I was like, this gives tourist vibes. This must be a tourist. But yeah, very, very interesting. So I don't know. Hopefully when this passes over, we'll be able to get more people. I think I need to engage more in lib speak on TikTok, especially with the transition. So saving the hardcore political content for Twitch and trying to catch more bees with honey. I'm doing a softer approach on TikTok. And I think that's what I'm going to start to do. And it'll help against the censorship too. And then try to funnel people into my podcast and Twitch. So that might be good. I don't know. Oh, why did Vietnam join the Board of Peace? Belarus did too. And I feel like maybe there are places that are locked out of traditional negotiating power with the UN and maybe saw as an opportunity to have more sway in what goes on, but I'm honestly not sure. I can tell you nobody wants to go to war with the United States and Donald Trump is a madman and everybody is like right now, so who knows? They might be terrified. Yeah, we should talk about Nicaragua on Twitch. Yeah, that would be really interesting. One of my close friends growing up, her family were Nicaraguan refugees, but they were part of the US-backed dictatorship. So, very interesting. Yeah. So, China does do a little trade with North Korea in defiance of the sanctions. Yeah, they do. They do. Oh, I need to look into the North Korea connection to Epstein for sure. Definitely. Okay, I'm going to jump off the live. I'm going to go spend a lovely Sunday evening with my partner. I'm going to make a split pea soup. Thanks you guys for showing up though. And please do help get the word out about RAMSEY's campaign. I know electoralism isn't everything, but it really is. That's something liberals engage in a lot. They love it. So it's a good way to reach them with the message. All right. Bye guys. Thank you so much. I hope you all have a great night. And I'll be on live normally scheduled tomorrow here for 30 minutes and then moving over to Twitch. So you can join me there. Abby, yay!